Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to make two different kinds of maps using Google Fusion and our old friend, the class survey data. The first kind of map is called a pin map, which locates a little marker icon on a particular location, like an address or a city. And the second kind of map is called an intensity map, where Google shades in a geographical location or a shape such as a city or a congressional district, according to a certain value located on a different column in the spreadsheet. So first off, the pin map. So here, of course, is our old friend, the survey data. And I am going to look over here in this column, where do you plan to spend Thanksgiving? And put a little pin on the map where everyone's going for Thanksgiving break. Now notice here, these locations are in two columns in the survey, but Google prefers to have the locating data in one column. The exception is if you're doing longitude and latitude. If you use longitude and latitude, they like that as two columns. But since that's not the case here, the first step is to create a single column with our city and state in it. And that's the N and O columns here. So the first thing I'm going to do, create a new column. I'm going to label it in the header row, and I will call it Thanksgiving break combined. And if you don't know the function, of course you can use Google. Ask Google, how do I combine columns in Excel? And what it will tell you is the concatenate function. So equals concatenate, there it is. And then here's the grammar you use. So concatenate, then you do the first item. And then if you just want to run them together, you just add them, but I'm going to put a comma between them. So that goes in quotation marks, space, comma, and then a space, and another comma, and then that. Now, if you stare at it long enough, that grammar kind of makes sense. I'm going to hit return to see if it works. Look at that. Fill down. Okay. Now we have a spreadsheet with the column we need in it. And this is what I'm going to upload to Google Fusion. And I'm going to save this as, whoops, what happened there? Nothing. All right. I'm going to save this. File, save as. Let's call it upload for pin. Now here, we're going to go to Google Fusion. Create a Fusion table. First thing it asks me is to upload my data. Choose a file and upload for pin. It noticed that the column names, the header row is in row 1, so that's good. Next, finish. So this is the sort of spreadsheet view, this rows. And you see in the rows, it has highlighted in yellow all of the columns that it automatically recognized as locations. Let's see if it recognized oh, look, it recognized these as locations, but not my new combined column. So I'm going to click on this, change. It's not text, it's location. And I will save it. And now it's in this happy yellow. Hitting this plus here is how you make a new map. Whoops, I just hit it. Plus, add map. All right, that's not what I want. I want the location is going to be this new combined column. Now notice if you just use the city, it's not going to know what state your city's in, and there are lots of cities in multiple states, so it gets things wrong. And then if you just use state, it'll just put it in the middle of the state, which is not what we want. But this should put it exactly where it goes. And if you zoom in, hopefully our pins will be there. Whoops. And there they are. Took a minute. Zoom back out. And when it turns into a little pointer, it will hover. You have a little hover effect, and if you click on it, it'll give you an info window on each thing. This is too much information. I just want to know which person is associated with each pin here. So I'm going to change my info window. And let's just include first and last name. I don't need all this other stuff. All right. Save it. And now we should be able to hover over. Now this is often not as fast as we would like. There we go. Give me the hover. And so that's where Tyler's going. Who's going here to Western Ohio? And the answer is Emily. Okay, so that's how you do a pin map, pretty straightforward. Again, if you don't use both the city and the state, it'll just put a pin right in the middle of the state, which is not what we want. And hopefully this is everybody's plans. Now this is the simpler type of map. The other kind of map that we are going to be making is the intensity map. And for the intensity map, you actually have to match up the values that you upload with what is called a shapefile, a file that says kind of what the boundaries are that you want it to color in. All right, so I'm going back to my data. And so this time, rather than an individual pin for everybody, I'm going to color in each state. And so what the data going in for that is going to be a list of the states, and then a list of the number of people in each state. Data, our friend the pivot table, I'm going to pivot around our new Thanksgiving combined column. Oh, not the combined, I'm sorry. I said state, so I mean state. I think that's this one. Okay, yeah, so here's a nice little list of states. And next to it, let's put a list of students. Let's count the number of names going to each state. Okay. So I'm going to grab this data. So this is a data series, right? You could also make a bar chart or something out of this. Copy. I'll make a new table for this just because Fusion tables can get confused. And I'm going to say state. And let's say number of students. File, save as, and I'm going to call this one upload for intensity. The last thing I did was save that pivot table on a new spreadsheet, and now I'm going to upload that to Google Fusion. So create a new Fusion table. I'm going to upload that data. Very simple data sheet. So here's our data in Google Fusion. And it automatically mapped that, but, well, it will automatically map it. But you'll see it's just going to place a pin in each state. And there are things we could do. We could have it change the color of the pins according to the other column there. But rather than change the color of the pins, I want it to color the whole state. And to do that, we have to import a shape file, a file that tells it the shape of each state we want it to color in. You can find those online. I'm going to just look for it on Google. State boundaries Google Fusion. And this is what's called a KML file. All it is again, the shapes for each of the states, and then you can see what it looks like here. It just says KML, and then it will have some unintelligible stuff there. So I'm copying the URL, and then I'm going to merge the two files on the state names. We want to confirm that the states here aren't abbreviated or anything, or at least they use the same form of abbreviation over here as over here, but again, it doesn't seem like a problem. Here is our new merged table. Now, the only difference here is it will have reached into this other file and pulled out the shape for each of the states that were in both places. Map of geometry is what we want here. Now it coded everything the same color, but we can change that. Go to this Change Feature Styles. We're not using marker icons here, we're using polygons. And the fill color, we don't want one color that's red. Let's use a gradient. And the gradient is, we'll use this range of 1 to 9 because we don't have 100 people going anywhere. So the most intense color will be 9, the least intense will be 1. Show gradient. And then I can hit save. And look at that. And if you click on this, it will still give you that pop-up window. And so this is called an intensity map. The color of each state is different according to the number of students going there. And I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to add the automatic legend. Title, number of students. And there, look, we have a legend that lets us read it. And I'm going to hit done. And now when you want to turn this in or share this with somebody else, you go up here to the share settings and change this so anyone with the link or anyone at Miami can view it, and then you will get a copy of a link that you can share with me. Okay, thanks again, and see you in class.